During this WR meeting this morning, IIABNJ has been on the brink of a very exciting time. I, along with the Strategic Planning Committee and staff, have been working to develop a path for the future of our association. And as I said earlier, it looks bright. Jerry, you can come join me at the podium. Every 3 years, we go through a planning session. The state board does. And so it is a group of individuals represented from the board and from a chairman or women, chairpersons from our committees, who come together and spend a couple days locked away in a room with no windows. I'm not kidding. And so we get together and say, okay, based upon what we know of our industry and what we know of the association, what should be our goals and priorities for the next 3 years going forward? We don't just show up at the board meetings and just kind of haphazardly say, what should we focus on? We have a plan. So that plan lays out for us our goals over the next 3 years, and we just did that recently. And so what we're going to present to you this morning is we're going to focus on 2 of these 4 pillars, what we're calling them, in our strategic plan. And I can tell you that I've been involved in a strategic plan, I think 4 times at this point, and it was the most productive, and yet at the same time it was one of the strongest planning sessions we've ever had because of what we laid out for the next 3 years. So Jerry and I are going to, it's going to be kind of an interactive session which is going to be dependent upon you. And so we want to talk to you about brand and member experience. Now I'm going to handle brand because I think it's something that many people in this room have question of. And quite candidly, many people outside of this room may have questions of. What exactly is the Big I brand? I mean, you got this Trusted Choice Eagle, and we're pushing Trusted Choice. Are you Trusted Choice? Are we Trusted Choice? Are we the Big I? Are we IIABNJ? Are we the Independent Agency Association of New Jersey? What are we? And so I want to clarify for you the definition of brand this morning because it will only make sense going forward that you understand that. Brand is not a logo, it's not a color scheme, and it is nothing visible. Now, there are branding mechanisms by way we're marketing the crap out of Trusted Choice because we want people going to trustedchoice.com. That's consumer focused. But as your association to understand, our brand needs to speak to you who we are. And your brand as an agency is not your logo, it's not your name, it's not a principal who's been there forever and everybody knows them. It is who you are. Let me give you an example. Apple. Now when I say Apple, some of you may think of the actual Apple, but many of you picture your iPhones and your iPads. It's the experience that you have in holding those devices and interacting with those devices. IKEA, for those of you who have college students and send college students away and they need furniture. I'm assuming most of you did not order custom-made beds and couches for those dorm rooms. You went to IKEA. There's a certain feel. You get value for the money. There is a communication between the buyer, you the member, and the seller, i.e. the association who is delivering services to our members. And so we want to make sure that as we go forward, you experience the Big I brand. I want you to understand that we know that there has been much confusion with the Trusted Choice. It's a phenomenal consumer branding mechanism. And it is working, as Spencer said, phenomenally. It's just working great. But I can go back to the, okay, Frank, you have the eagle and the circle, but what have you done for me lately? I mean, that's great. But what's important is that we deliver to you, the member, the services, the programs, the needs that you have to strengthen your agencies to better position for the future. To give knowledge and expertise that you may not have within your agency to be delivered from the association. And to allow you the freedom of knowing that we're doing some work in the government affairs area to deliver to you what you need. And so we ended up with 3 focus points that we will focus on, push, and deliver to you. And we believe we've been delivering them, but maybe not in as clear-cut a way as possible. And they are advocacy. We are your fighter. It is member first, association second. We are your biggest advocates. The second thing is professionalism. We have the knowledge and expertise and the staff and the board to get done what you need to get done for your agency as a very important member of this association and community. We all know in this room that business does not get done outside of relationships. No matter what business you're in, it's relationships. Everything goes back to relationships. Now, we have carriers in the room, so I won't poke any fun at the underwriters, but all I'm saying is things get done by relationships. So we want to make sure that as we're rolling out the strategic plan, which, by the way, those of you who have a smartphone, hopefully you have the app downloaded, you can get the strategic plan. We're not hiding anything. We want everybody to know what we're doing because we believe that what we're doing is best for the independent agency system, and we know nobody's going to be able to copy it. So when it comes to branding, we have a polling question. Now, Stacey, you're going to have to help me out here. In that app, we wanted to have a live polling so that when we're talking about this, you'd be able to interact with it. Barbara, I'm 43 and I got 5 vocals. Now, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but if you go into the app, you go to the conference button, and then you swipe to the second page. Thank you, Michael. And in there is audience polling. I want to know, when you think of the association, which brand do you associate with? I'm going to take this with you. And we're going to have live results showing up here in just a second. You guys with me? So you go to conference? You okay? I don't think there's going to be any material change in that right there. For those of you who can't see the screen, you got an overwhelming majority say the big I. You got 20 at the big I, Trusted Choice at 11, and IIABNJ at 9. So what that tells me is that we really don't know who we are. And we've not done as good a job in communicating that to you, the member. So we take that. That's us. That's our responsibility and our role to make sure as we move forward that a clear definition and by activity and exchange is made so that we are on a common front. I want everybody to be able to say, I'm a member of the Big I. I don't want there to be, we're a Trusted Choice member. No. We're IIABNJ. No. We're gonna agree and be very clear on going forward what our brand is, so that we all can be part of that community that I mentioned in a way that would solidify our future. Okay. So on your app, everybody see the opportunity to get the strategic plan, and we did not make hard copies available here today, but you can download it through that app. So branding, we're changing things, and Jerry's going to handle member experience. But before we move there, does anybody have any questions or comments about the Big I branding? Any issues? Any complaints?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Why don't we just push the Big I instead of transferring over to this Trusted Choice to begin with?
That's a
If
great.
we put the same effort into Big I that we put into Trusted Choice, we'd be further ahead.
Well,
We
that's
lost the Big I part.
Yeah, that's a great question. Here, I don't know that we lost it. What has happened is, in an effort to fight the ongoing pressures of the captives and the direct writers, Trusted Choice was developed to differentiate them from the independent agent. And so we wanted to, it was our desire to grow this brand, and we have been successful in doing it to an extent. In the state, we got a little happy with the consumer-focused part because we're trying to drive business to you. And so, Sheldon, it's a great question. We didn't lose the Big I, but what we did is we focused so much on Trusted Choice because we wanted to bring value, i.e. business, to our agency members and do what we could to drive that business and to drive perceived value by somebody saying, I want a Trusted Choice independent agent. We still developed and put out phenomenal programs, and people are loving them. But what we want to do is maybe take more of a direct line approach. We're not going to do away with Trusted Choice, but in dealing with our members in what is directly affects you on a daily basis. Still work the consumer, but focus more on the member and what they need.
Right, but trusted choice says nothing to the public about insurance, nothing.
Well, Sheldon, I will say that I disagree with you on that because Trusted Choice does suggest it with the amount of traffic we've had and leads that have coming in. It is not easy building a system to drive people to a website in our very technology-focused world. And so we're getting there. I mean, you saw the ratings, how we're bumping up. So it's working. We want people to assimilate Trusted Choice with independent agents. And it is working, but it is one hell of a workload for our national office and for those here in the state to push it. So we knew it was going to be an uphill battle, and we knew there were going to be non-believers. And quite candidly, I was one at the outset. I did not want to lose who we were. We did not lose who we were, but from a communication standpoint, and maybe on the outward vision that people saw, they saw Trusted Choice and not the big I. We're changing that. But Trusted Choice is working. It absolutely is working. Any other questions or comments?
Make one comment, Frank. I agree with everything you're saying. The big I inside the industry is still very much being promoted. So when you go down to Washington, we still say we're from the big I. But the Trusted Choice, the big I wasn't, in all the focus groups we did, wasn't resonating with the consumer. They couldn't figure out what the big I was. And that's why we had to come out with a brand that they understood. But you're right, inside with the insurance companies, with congressmen, legislators, we still say we're part of the big I because it has amazingly strong brand power, but it just wasn't doing anything outside of that. So we're promoting both, which is a disconnect, and you're absolutely right. But it's not, the big I is not going away. We still will hand out big I mugs in Washington.
Gary?
Very good, thank you, Frank. That was a great topic to talk about. And this is what we want to be interactive like that. So everybody, please feel free, raise your hands. We want that feedback. And part of that is what I'm going to talk about is the member experience. We sat in the room doing the strategic planning, and one of the things we came up with was, what is the member experience? What does that mean to people? So we said we want to elevate the member experience. And what does that mean to everybody? So we thought about, how do you interact with an association? Why do people join any particular type of group? Whether it's your Chamber of Commerce or your Rotary, your Lions Club, any local group that you do volunteer work for. What are your reasons for joining? So we want to look at those interactions, and we want to make all those better for you. And we also realize, just like the Trusted Choice brand did in the early set, one of the branding or one of the advertising campaigns was, one size doesn't fit all. So in the same sense, we realize as an association, one size does not fit all either. There's all different types of members. So we have small agents, we have large agents, we have insurance companies as partners, as associate members. We have other vendors, if you will, attorneys, accountants that are part of the association, restoration companies. So everybody really would get something different out of the association. So a lot of this stuff we've been doing for a long time, but we really want to focus on what your touch points are with the association, and then see, what does each group get out of those, and just try to build on those, and try to make things different and exciting. So whenever you think of events that you want to go to, that you're excited about it, and we're bringing value back to you as a member and helping you succeed in business every day. So as an example, we came up with some different touch points that you would interact with the association. One being the annual meeting that we're all at right now. The second would be education events, whether that be online or in the classroom. Networking events is another one. Whether that, again, be a statewide networking event, be a golf outing, it could be a local event. That's another activity, touch point you'd have with the association. Fourth one would be the website. A lot of us would interact with the website. That's the first place you go to get your information. What's your experience like going to the website? So we do have another polling question. Everybody's ready to pop out your phones again about those touch points. again, there's many different touch points. These are just 4, but if you look at those 4 and pick one of those 4, which one's most important to you? So this is, I mean, part of the experience, part of doing this is also what we're talking about, the experience, being more interactive with everybody, trying to get feedback, and we appreciate everybody that voted in our voting booth. That was, again, another idea that came out of strategic planning, was to really try to express that, you know, the association is all of us. It's all the members. You know, we sit in that room and try to come up with the best ideas we can of what will serve the members, but things like that is great. We can take all those ideas back, put them together, and really try to improve things. All right, well, thank you very much. I think we've got some good responses, and all right, that's good feedback. So obviously a lot of the networking events are very important. I think that goes back to, you know, beginning a time when whatever meeting you go to, you're getting information, you're meeting people, and that's valuable to people. So again, feedback like this we'll take and be able to improve on things. Another thing we decided that we're going to do, something that I never heard about before, but the facilitator in the strategic planning session suggested we do a map of our members, a map survey. So what basically that means is looking at the different types of members, as I said before, whether it's an insurance company, whether it's a restoration company, finance company, and an agent member. So we'll look at the different groups, and it's almost like coming up with like a spreadsheet, and then mapping out, here's all the different touch points that we have, and then what do we feel is most important for each group, or how can we improve on those touch points for each group. So again, I think this is something we've been doing for a long time, but once you put pen to paper, it really makes you think about these things, and then hopefully come up with new ideas on improving programs and doing things different. So that's something that's in the works that we're doing also. Now we'll move on to part of member experience also that we talked about with diversity. And this is something that's been in the works for a couple years, and before the strategic planning session, we have had a diversity task force. And that's a big word, it means many things, it's a broad term, but as an association, we certainly feel that it's important for the success of our members and the future of the association that we reflect, you know, the communities that we live and work in. So it's certainly a big challenge to do that, but we're purposely having a plan to work on that. And again, diversity can mean many things. Certainly racial diversity as first and foremost that would come to mind for everybody, but it also means diversity of age. We talked about before the young agents, the importance of getting the young agents into the business. So it means a lot of things. So like I said, we have a task force that has been working on this, and we'd encourage anybody that has ideas here or otherwise that wants to get involved to let us know, because again, I think for the future, we want to be all-inclusive and get all groups involved with the association. Anybody have any questions on the member experience? Talking about diversity, any comments? All right, well, thank you very much.
We have one
Yeah.
last question if you're done.
Yeah, another full question.
And so this is what we want to end on. There's one more polling question that I think will be very, very insightful. And it's the polling question about which of our core values resonate most with you: advocacy, community, and professionalism. So if you could please go back into your app. I just tried to go back in, but I'm sure it's user error.
No, it was disabled so we could focus on the
Okay.
one area is re-enabled.
Awesome. All right, so it's live. If you could please go in there and I'm already moving quick, huh?
So again, we'd encourage everybody to read that strategic plan. That's what we're moving forward with, but please email me or Frank or call us. We really need input. We can't make it up all on our own, so reach out to us. Pros, cons, we need criticism as well, if you don't like some of the ideas.
I have to tell you, the poll results were not what I thought they would be on any of the polls, which is phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Wow. So, wow, that's pretty awesome. I could ask another polling question, but we're not set up for it. I'll save that for last email someone in the future, but fantastic. Thank you guys all very much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you everybody for participating with our first live poll. So that was very exciting, and I hope you're excited about the strategic plan going forward. So as you can see, there was a lot of work that's gone into the next 3-year strategic plan, and I hope everybody's excited about it.